Hello, friends. Let's understand the difference between these two sentences. I have worked with him, so I can tell you about him. Means I worked in the past, I don't know the time, okay? And so I know about him now, and I can tell you about him now, okay? The second sentence, I have been working with him, so I look tired, means I started working in the past and continued up to the moment I looked tired. Okay. So now I continued and now I stopped. And because of that work, I look tired. Okay. So in the first sentence, I have worked with him, so I can tell you about him. Both the actions, working and telling, both happens intentionally, both are done intentionally. But the second sentence, I have been working with him, so I look tired. The first part happens is done, okay, by me, and I do not look tired separately. Okay, I did first, that's why the second happens. Let's look at some more examples. The first sentence, the children are playing because they have done their homework. The second, the children's clothes are dirty because they have been playing. The first sentence is that the children are playing now because they are free, because they have already completed their homework, done their homework. Okay, they did their homework, now they are free, that's why they are playing. The second sentence, their clothes are dirty because they have been playing, means they started playing and continued and they just stopped, that's why their clothes are dirty. Okay, in the first sentence, they did their homework and then they played. Both the actions are done. But in the second sentence, they played and automatically the clothes are dirty. Okay, the second thing is not done. So we cannot say that children's clothes are dirty because they have played. Okay, they have played. We cannot use present perfect over here. Okay, so because the clothes are dirty because of the play that started just finished. Okay, so in this case we cannot use present perfect in the second sentence in place of present perfect continuous. Let's understand these sentences, when to use them and what's the difference. Where were you? What were you doing? Where have you been? What have you been doing? Suppose I go from office to my home and knock at the door. My son is inside the house and he didn't open the door. So I'm knocking at the door, but he's not answering. He's not opening the door. So I just knocked there. I stood there for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, my child and my son came and opened the door. Then I can say, where were you? What were you doing? Where were you when I was knocking at the door? Why didn't you open the door? What were you doing? I can say these two sentences, okay? But if my son opened the door and I saw his hands, his clothes, his face, everything is dirty, and wanting to know the reason for his dirty hands, for dirty clothes, dirty face, I would say, where have you been? What have you been doing? Okay. Now let's understand the difference between these sentences. She cooked before I left home. She was cooking before I left home. She had cooked before I left home and she had been cooking before I left home. Suppose I reached home from office and called my son and asked him, what time did you go to school? He said, today I went to school at 9. So did you have your breakfast? Or did you take your lunch today? Yes, I took my lunch. I had my breakfast because my mom, she cooked before I left home, or she had cooked before I left home. We can use past simple and past perfect both in this situation. Which happened first? She cooked or I left? She cooked and then I left. Here, before conjunction is used. In this case, we can use both past simple and past perfect, okay, to talk about which happened first and which second, okay, and they are almost the same. And she was cooking before I left home. She had been cooking before I left home. Let's understand the difference between these two. Suppose I asked my son, why your mom was not picking up the call, picking up the phone. I was calling her from 8:30 to 9. Okay, you left at 9 and I was calling her from 8:30 to 9. Why wasn't she answering the call? Then my son would say, she was cooking before I left home. Means she was cooking from 8:30. She was busy cooking during that time period. Okay, she was cooking between 8:30 and 9. She was busy cooking. That's why she did not pick up the call. We can also use past perfect continuous. She had been cooking, okay, before I left home. Means during that period she was busy cooking. They are the same. Okay, there is no difference in meaning. But here when we use past perfect continuous, this is more formal. Okay, and we can also use past continuous. She was cooking before I left home. They mean almost the same thing. Now let's understand these sentences. She was cooking when I left home. She had been cooking when I left home. He told me that she had been cooking when I left home. Suppose next day I reached home from office and asked my son, okay, and said to my son, did you have your breakfast today? He said no. When I left home, my mom was cooking. She was cooking. The food was not ready at that time. Okay, so food was being cooked. My mom was cooking, and in the middle, I left home. I went to school. The second sentence, she had been cooking when I left home, is not correct if it's not the part of the third sentence. She had been cooking when I left home is written in the third sentence after that. She had been cooking when I left home. If we use this sentence to mean the first sentence, to mean the same as the first sentence, this is incorrect. Okay, if I go back home from office at night, okay, and ask my son, and he said she was cooking when I left home. He said the first sentence. And now I'm telling you that yesterday I went home. I asked my son. He said no. He said when he left home, in fact, when he left home, his mom had been cooking. Okay, so here, you know, that's used in indirect speech. Okay, in direct speech, when we talk about one past time at a specific time in the past perfect continuous is not used. Okay, we use past continuous tense. But when we report that sentence, make change into indirect, we can use that sentence. Okay, if we use for plus a period of time in the second sentence, that would be correct. She had been cooking for 1 hour when I left home. This is correct. Now let's understand these two. When I left home, she had been cooking for 2 hours. When I left home, she was cooking for 2 hours. As in the previous slide, there was a sentence. She had been cooking when I left home. Okay, here the sentence is not correct. Although we are talking about a past time when I left home at 9, suppose, and she had been cooking. This is incorrect. If we add for plus period of time or since a point in time, in fact, the sentence would be correct. When I left home, she had been cooking for 2 hours is correct. Okay, something started 2 hours before and that was continuous and stopped, or maybe that was continuous when I left home. So this is correct. Okay, we cannot use past continuous in this situation. We cannot use for plus period of time or since with past continuous tense. Okay, when I left home, she was cooking for 2 hours is incorrect. To mean the same as the first sentence. When I left home, she had been cooking for 2 hours. Okay? But let me tell you one thing. Past continuous plus for and period of time can be used to mean future, to talk about future in the past. For example, When I left home, she was going to cook for 2 hours. She was going to. As we can use present continuous tense with far to mean future. For example, I'm staying with you for 2 weeks. It means in future I'm going to stay with you for 2 weeks. Okay, in the present we use to mean this, and in the past we use to mean going to, was going to. Okay, now let's understand these sentences. Her hands were dirty because she was cooking. Her hands were dirty because she had been cooking. Her hands were dirty because she had cooked, or she cooked. The first sentence, the second are correct, but the third one is incorrect. Okay, this is not used. First one is correct, and it means that when she was cooking, her hands were dirty because she was cooking. She was cooking, and in the middle, I saw her hands, and they were cooking. The cooking was not over yet. Okay, the cooking was going on. In the middle, I saw her hands; they were dirty. Her hands were dirty because she had been cooking. This is correct, but here, her hands were dirty. I saw after she finished cooking. Okay, she had been cooking, did one action, did one thing. She cooked continuously for some time, for a period of time, and just after she finished cooking, I saw her hands, they were dirty. Means they were dirty. This is the result of what she had been doing, what she did continuously. Okay, before that moment. So they are correct, but they are different in meaning. In the second sentence, she had been cooking, the cooking was over, and then I saw her hands were dirty. Okay. But the third sentence is incorrect. Her hands were dirty because she cooked, or she had cooked. Past simple and past perfect both are incorrect in this situation because she had cooked or cooked, and this will not give result that hands were dirty. Okay. Don't know when she cooked. Past perfect here is not used. But if we change the sentence like, I was happy because she had cooked, this is correct. I was happy because she cooked, this is also correct. Okay, but here I was happy because she had cooked is preferable. Okay, because we use past perfect to talk about something happened before a past time. So I was happy at a point in time in the past, and before that, and the cooking was done. Okay, so she had cooked is preferable to she cooked, but they both mean the same thing, they can be used. Okay, okay, thank you so much for watching the video.